Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Fred Speaks. I pray this podcast finds you in the best of health and spirits. And a subject for this podcast is called Jumpstart. And I would like to, for this podcast, I would like to read a quote. And it reads, "Time waits for no one. It is a true saying that life goes on with or without you. You can either sit on the sideline and watch or get in the game. We spend so much time being stagnant, and before you know it, years have gone by. We have already experienced the negative. Do something positive to jumpstart your future today." And I like the quote. I think it is a very meaningful quote because we have things that happen to us in life where they can be negative, or in our eyes they're viewed as negative. In the eyes of God, they could be something that is positive, that is something that is molding and making us to be what He has us to be. But in the human being eyes, we look at it as a negative. So whether it is, sickness, or whether we lose a job, or whether we have a bad relationship, and the list goes on and on and on of things that we view as negative. But in the quote, it says we have already experienced the negative. So, we've gone through that. We've had whatever the situation was, that we viewed as negative. We've experienced it. And the quote goes on to say, do something positive to jumpstart your future today. And I was thinking about that word jumpstart, and automatically my mind went to a vehicle needing a jump, because the battery, is dead or whatever. And on the battery, it has two terminals. One is a negative terminal and one is a positive. And not, to go into all the details of how that process works with a battery, but the point I want to bring out is that it takes both the negative and the positive in order for that battery to provide the energy required to start the vehicle. And I think so many times in life, we want everything to be positive. I mean, there's not a human being on the planet that, doesn't want everything to go their way, or the ideal way, or situation. It's a certain way they want things to be in their life, and they're not focused on anything negative happening, but that it will all be positive, that everything will be all good, in their lives. And that's just the normal thought process of a human being. But in reality, we know that every day is not going to be, roses, and everything is not going to go our way. So then we have to realize that there's going to be some negative. There's going to be some things that happen that does not go the way that we want. It's just like, you come out, you're getting ready for work, and then you come out, and then all of a sudden you notice that you got a flat tire, and it kind of throws things off of, you may have been running a little late. And so that's the last thing you want to deal with is, trying to get a flat tire changed or get another tire or whatever. And so we have things that we view as negative. Sometimes they're small things, sometimes they're big things in our eyes. But the thing is, it takes both the negative and the positive. It's something that helps to make us more well-rounded, and to appreciate when we do have good days, that we appreciate them because we have experienced the negative, and we have something to gauge or something to compare what is actually a good day and what we view as a bad day. But we learn to appreciate the good days because we realize that it could be a different type of day. In other words, other things could not be going the way that we want. And I think a lot of times we take for granted that, we're able to get up, we have a reasonable portion of health and strength, and we're able to go about and do the things that we need to do, versus a day where, we're not feeling well and we don't have the energy or the strength to get up and go and do different things or whatever. So that, but those things help us to appreciate and that realize whether it is a day that we view as negative or a day that we view as positive, that it's all working together for the good. But in the focus on this podcast, a lot of times all we can hold on to is the negative things that has happened in our life or that is going on in our lives, and we just latch onto that, and that's all we can think about is, woe is me, why did this thing have to happen to me? And what I wanted to do with this podcast is I wanted to encourage you that you've experienced the negative. You know what that feels like. Now, are you going to stay there and just, be in a pity party? And we all do it, where it's, I just want to stay here and I don't really want to, do anything. But like the quote was saying, we find ourselves staying there in that negative place, and we become to be stagnant. And you look around and years have passed by, and you're like, where'd the time go? And it was because we were trapped or, basically held hostage in a negative state. And that's all our focus was on an experience or experiences that we viewed as negative. But if we want our life to change and to be better, we have to take that negative experience, embrace it, but not use it to keep us in a place where we're not progressing or moving forward. But we take that negative and we fuse it with positive. And because we don't want to forget about our experiences, because we want to be able to reflect and realize that there is a difference from where I was and where I am now or where I'm going. But we use that as fuel or energy along with the positive to propel us and move us forward. Just like that car needs that negative and the positive energy that it may start and be able to move forward. And so that's what I wanted to really focus on, is that, let's not get so bogged down in the negative things. And I know some things happen in our lives and we don't understand why they had to happen, and we get stuck there, and we have constant reminders on a daily basis of whatever the experience was. But then the exercise and the habit that we have to develop is, I got to move forward. I got to, there's things, better things ahead for me. And if I stay here, it's going to prohibit me from reaching the things that I need to get to. And so I don't want to be that car that's sitting there and, it really needs a jump start, but I keep just looking at it. I don't want to do it, you know. But if I want to move forward and be able to drive that car, I'm going to have to get a jump, so I can, start to drive it. And in our lives, we got to, a lot of things we want to blame God and we're waiting on God or whatever, but there are some things that we can't do. And that's, it's a habit. We are habit forming creatures, that we do things out of habit, and we develop habits. And just like you can have a habit of focusing or on a negative experience, and every day you find yourself, that's where your focus is, because now you've developed a habit of focusing on that particular negative experience. But then we have to start developing new habits, and our focus should be on, our future and moving forward. And sometimes, we may lose a job, or and our mindset at the time is like, whatever, I don't, but that may have happened for a reason, to propel you to move forward with into something better. But if you focus on, hey, I was let go, or however the situation happened, then you'll find yourself being there in that negative place. And like I said, we need to take that negative, infuse it with the positive, that it may propel us and move us forward to the things that lie ahead. So that negative energy, if that is all that we got to focus on, then we, like I said, we'll find ourselves being stagnant and, just not moving, just staying in the same place. And something can happen to you, and it could have been, 10 years ago. And your objective in your mind was probably, I'm going to give myself some time. But if you don't start somewhere, and that's why I was focusing on starting today. If you don't start somewhere and start to, turn towards future and moving forward, time is not going to wait on you. Time is not going to wait on you. And before you know it, like I said, you can find yourself, it's 5-10 years later, and you haven't made any progress. That car is still sitting in the driveway. It hasn't gone anywhere, and it's not going to go anywhere until you make the decision that, hey, I'm going to jumpstart it. I'm tired of seeing it sit there. It has a good motor in it. It's got good tires on it. It's, it's operational. It just needs a jump. It needs a jump. And, there's many of us, we have good hearts, and we know it. Everybody knows it. But because of negative experiences, or what we view as negative experiences, we're on the sideline. We're not moving. We're not progressing. We're not moving forward. we're just sitting there. And the conversation becomes, they used to be. I remember when they were this or that, and that is useless. That's helpless. That doesn't help anything. That's speaking in past tense of what you used to be. But that's not how you want to be defined. You want to be able to be someone that is able to move forward, taking that negative experience and using it to propel you along with positive outlooks. And, yes, I had this negative experience, but I believe there's better things for me. I believe that there is things ahead that I can be a great asset to. But I gotta move from this place, this negative place, and I gotta be able to move forward. And sometimes you need that shock, that jump. And sometimes I was thinking about how we get so used to being just normal routine, our comfort zone. But sometimes it takes that shock, that extra to get you going. Something that's out of the ordinary. Trying something that you probably never would have thought of trying, but it may take that to jumpstart you, to get you going, to move you forward, to give you a new passion, a new desire. So each individual has to look at their own life and determine what that is. But you know when you're stagnant, when you lack energy, you're not able to move forward. You see things that you should or probably should be doing, but you're not even even reaching or trying to move because you're stuck. You're stuck in a place. And so I believe that this is not just for one specific group of people or person or whatever, but I believe that we all get in places where we need a jump start. We need that little extra combination of negative and positive to get us going. And our negative experiences is used to propel us. And that positive is that, hey, there's still things I can do. There's still things that I need to reach for. This is not it for me. But there's better things that lie ahead. But I'm not going to even get to that if I can't get out of this place. So that negative ought to propel us along with the positive is that I don't want to just be propelled out into a situation where, it is another negative experience, and then I find myself right back in the same stagnant place. But my negative experiences ought to be used along with the positive to move me forward, to jumpstart me, to get me going where I had not been going, where I had been just stagnant, but to get me going where I can move forward and start to venture into things that I know that will be very beneficial to me and to others. And that's the thing. The negative will prevent you from being a help to yourself and also being a help to others. And the first thing you got to be able to do is to help yourself. You got to be able to, get yourself to a place that you can be a help to others. And if you're not moving and you're not active and you're not challenging yourself, then you're not going to be a help to others, because your negative energy is going to cause people, to not even want to be around you because you're down. You know, when that vehicle is sitting there and it is not able to start, it's not able to move, and then it starts to collect dust. It starts to look bad because it's not moving. And I believe in life, everything, with life needs to move. It needs to have action. And as it moves, it causes it to, have energy, and it becomes to be noticeable because it's moving. It's not sitting. It's not stagnant. And that car that's sitting in the driveway, unless somebody, maybe passing by or walks, into your driveway, it's just sitting there. But when you start to move around, the vehicle's able to be, in action, people notice it. Whether you're at the store or wherever you might be, or you're just driving on the road, somebody notices your vehicle. And if you're not moving, in your life, you become to be somebody that's sitting on the sideline and nobody's really paying attention to you. But if you start to be active and more involved, and then you're in the game, then people take notice of you. But I don't want you to think that that's what it's all about. It's just people taking notice of you. I think the biggest thing is that you get to a place, and that's that jumpstart. You get to a place that regardless of if anybody else notices you or not, that that you're now moving forward, and that you're now starting to focus on the things that are beneficial to you and eventually will be beneficial to others. Because I believe that we all bring something to the table that can be a help to, others, whether it's one person or many people. But I believe we all have something to offer. And so if you're stagnant, you can't do that. But if you start to move, have that jump start, and you are ready to go, then you can start to be a help to yourself and others. So don't be discouraged that, I've been stagnant for so many years or whatever. But the thing is, it happens to us all, that we have experiences, and we could be going along in life and it seems like everything is aligning and going the way we've planned. And then all of a sudden there's this hiccup, there's this stumbling block. And sometimes these things throw us off, and others may be looking like, man, won't they get over that? Or, man, it's been long enough. But we all deal with things in our own way. But then we do have to evaluate, like, okay, I've been in this place. It's been more than a year. It's been more than 5 years. It's been 10 years, and I haven't moved. And sometimes it's not that you have not had any progress, but the thing is that whatever that experience was, you haven't really been able to get past that. And because of that, although you're doing things, but you're not really moving, though. It's almost like a car that's stuck and needs somebody to pull them out of the mud or out of the ditch or whatever. There's some activity going on, but you're not going anywhere. Your wheels are spinning, but you're not going anywhere. You're just still sitting in the same spot. The engine's going, but those wheels are spinning and you're not making any progress. And I think sometimes we justify, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but you're not really moving anywhere. You're not really moving anywhere. You're not really accomplishing the things that you set out to accomplish, and the goals and different things that you had set. You're not accomplishing those because you're still stuck. You're stuck because of that negative experience that's got you in the ditch and you can't get out. And until you can get past that, all of the things that you envisioned and you saw, for your life, or, that's not going to happen until you can get that jump start and, and start to move forward, and that your wheels are not spinning. And a lot of times the wheels are spinning because we find ourselves getting back into the same negative situation that caused us to be stagnant. And that's why our wheels are spinning, is because, it's the same situation. It's the same mindset. It's the same focus day in and day out. And that has to change. So I would like to recommend a few things that can kind of help us all to get that jump start. Number one, we have to acknowledge that, that we have been stagnant. You can, try to justify and say, however you want, but when you really look at it, so number one, just being honest with yourself and just say, I've been stagnant. I haven't been moving forward. There's things that are going on around me, but I'm not really, moving forward like I would like to. And it's because of this negative situation that has happened in my life that I have been stagnant. So number one, acknowledging it, that, that you've been in that place, and when you look back over the course of time of however long it's been that you've been stagnant, if you do this honest assessment, you would have to acknowledge that I haven't really moved forward. I'm in the same place I was, 5 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever the time frame is. And then number two is, like I say, you need that jump, that, like I say, sometimes it has to be something out of the norm, something, because we're creatures of habit, so we find ourselves doing the same things day in and day out. And so you need that jump start, that negative and that positive energy combined to, be able to get that jump start that you need to start moving forward. And so think about some things that maybe you wanted to do or you wanted to accomplish, and maybe you had the approach that you were looking to do it was, basically in your comfort zone. So maybe there has to be a out of the box approach to getting to that. I've talked sometimes before on some podcasts about how sometimes there's things you want to do, and because everything is not aligning, you don't do it. But maybe you just need to jump out there and get it started. Like there's some people that have had some experiences, and sometimes I notice myself, I'm like, man, this person probably could be a great writer, or this person here has a skill set where they could be an artist or just something that would be a benefit and rewarding to themselves and others. So sometimes you just gotta shock your own self for where you just jump out there, and that's one of the things that human beings we don't want to take that risk. Sometimes you may. I remember when I was about 16 years old, and I had this place that I had visited, and I was 16 years old, and I said, one day I'm going to live here. I was so impressed with the city and the people, and I was like, man, I want to live here. And so years went by. I graduated from school, and I started going to a school that was, in my the same state and everything. And it didn't work out at that school. And then I made up my mind. I was like, it came back to my attention that when I was 16 years old, I said I wanted to live in this other place. And I made that move. I got on a train, of course, permission of my parents and everything. Made some calls and everything, got my living situation, got all that, situated and everything. And I got on a train with a Foot Locker, with my stuff in there and me. And I got on that train, and I rode it all the way for, almost like 24 hours. But I did it. It was totally out of my comfort zone. But I did it, and I got there, and I was so happy with the decision that I made, not knowing, what to expect and how, but I took the chance. And so I say all that to say this is that when you need that jump start, it's gonna take more than going out and just, moving the cables around in hopes that the vehicle may start. You're gonna need some extra to get that vehicle going. And so doing something out of the box, something like I said, you got to shock yourself. Like, man, I can't believe I'm doing this, but just do it. So number 2, trying, to jumpstart yourself and get going with something out of the ordinary, something out of the box, to get that jump start. And 3, you're going to have thoughts that are going to come back to you about the negative experience. And there's an exercise that I almost have to do every morning. It's when I get up, and then sometimes my mind is bombarded with just negative thoughts and, different experiences that has happened in my life. And I have, because of habit, I have learned to refocus my thoughts on positive things. So sometimes it's something as simple as, I want to accomplish this today with work, or, I want to accomplish this, something personal. And I started to rechannel my energy towards more positive things, things that I want to accomplish for that day. And it sometimes it does. It's not easy, but the more you do it, you'll find that it becomes to be a habit of when those negative things come, that replace it or start to use positive energy or thoughts of things that you need to do for that particular day or at that moment. And then, just being active. A lot of times when we are not active and we, are not doing anything, we find ourselves where our mind gets bogged down with negative things. So refocusing and, transferring that positive energy or moving from that positive energy to from that negative energy to more positive energy. And again, just to do a recap, in life, we're going to have ups and downs. So negatives and positives. But at the end of the day, we take all of our experiences and it's all a part of making us who we are. And it keeps us humble. That's what a lot of people, they don't want the negative, but negative keeps us humble, keeps us, level-minded and balanced. Because if we had all good days, we probably wouldn't appreciate them. But because we have some rainy day, negative days, it makes us appreciate when we do have, the good days. So it all works together for the good. But just want to let everybody know every now and then we all need a jump start. We all need that little extra to get us going. And sometimes life throws us a curveball and we don't expect it. And it really turns everything upside down. But even in those experiences, we can get through it, even though we may have found ourselves to be stagnant and hadn't been moving forward. We can turn that around today. So let us start to do the things that we can get that jump start, get going. Just focus on one thing today and start to move forward in your life, start to get some things accomplished. And I pray that everyone that is listening in was able to get something out of this podcast. And we'd like to encourage you to join us for another episode of Fred Speaks. Thanks.